We should also be cautious about the motivation of the one who provides information. That's why the scriptures warn us against priestcraft.
Some moments ago, the U.S. designating Tren de Aragua, TDA, and other cartels as global terrorist organizations.
And authorities in Salt Lake City, Utah are now warning that the violent Venezuelan gang Tren de Aragua is operating in their city. They have now linked the gang to recent shootings and also assaults. Investigators are warning here the gang runs a human smuggling ring, forcing girls and young women migrants into prostitution.
Governor Cox also cites a memo that Bernanke's office issued a memo calling Utah a sanctuary state.
Salt Lake Police Chief Mike Brown is out, and Mayor Erin Mendenhall says she's the reason.
Yes, this was my decision.
Travis Wayne Goodsall. Trump Eyes 2025. Continuation from last night. The Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints is well established as factually an international criminal organization of terrorism. They not only are a terrorist group, they fund terrorism for the sole purpose of destroying the United States of America. I've done the research, I've got the documents, I've got the recordings, I've got the evidence, I've got the receipts. It's well established fact. And yet, despite this, I am under full assault by Mormons, even the leaders of the church. No duh. They want me shut up, silenced, and dead for what I know. They threaten people to commit crimes for them, and if they fail, they are punished and financially ruined. If they succeed, they are financially rewarded. Chief Brown in Utah, Salt Lake City Police Chief, failed and has been punished. I gave him the report on the crimes of this church. He failed to do his job. He got busted because of me, because he failed to do his job. And so the church, in this particular case, went through Sister Mendenhall, Salt Lake City mayor, to have him fired. He came out and said he resigned in an email. Sister Mendenhall came out and said, "You're fired. I fired him. I did it." That's how the church works and operates. The church has gone through my parents, my brother, my bishops, my stake presidents, property management, and other sources to hurt me, destroy me, ruin me, punish me, silence me, and murder me. This is how they work and operate in the state of Utah. There are numerous people who likewise know of this, but they just don't know the full history and connections that I do. But there are many casualties of this criminal operation. As such, Donald John Trump, President number 47, yesterday issued the designation of the Venezuelan gang as a terrorist group. Utah has this Venezuelan gang in it, not just in Salt Lake City, but also in Harriman, that we have had incidences of. Chief Brown failed to do his job to go after them, not just going after the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints, the front for their criminal international terrorist organization. And so, just to let you know, I again emailed Chief Brown this morning, for which he's still working till the end of the month. But the question is he going to be a lame duck? Or is he going to do his job? Because this criminal organization of the church is giving aid and comfort to the Venezuelan gang, not just Trump's illegal designations, for which there are over 600,000 in the state of Utah. The majority of them getting aid from this criminal international terrorist organization that should never even be called a church. It is just sad and pathetic that Mormons want to be evil, to side with evil, to commit crimes, to protect the evil of this criminal operation of international terrorism. In 1838, Thomas B. Marsh, who was Joseph Smith's president of his Quorum of 12 Apostles, witnessed this origin that has become this international criminal terrorist organization. They called themselves the Danites, true Mormons, because Joseph Smith Mormons were not good enough for them. And they framed and blamed Joseph, got him out of the way so that they can run the church. Thomas B. Marsh witnessed their atrocities, their crimes, their abuses, their terrorism, and reported on it to the governor of Missouri, for which the governor of Missouri issued the extermination order. Good for him. Why did Missouri drop it? Oh, right. The criminal international terrorist organization threatened them to drop it, lying and deceiving them about their own justice. It should never have been lifted. It should have been carried out, but not on Joseph Smith, who was framed and blamed, and those Mormons who knew nothing of these Danites until they were threatened by them in 1838 to join them or die. This pattern of abuse and threats and terrorism still continue to this day. Join us or you're the enemy and we can hurt you, we can abuse you, we can murder you, we can steal from you, we can rape your wives, we can burn your houses to the ground. They told Thomas B. Marsh that their plot was to overthrow the government of the United States of America right now. President Dallin H. Oaks got leaked in 2020, confessing that this is exactly what they're doing. I've gone over with you their whole plot that they leaked. They were blaming Jesus to do their job for them. And so, yesterday's video, I put out the call hoping Trump would get word. I've already contacted Pam Bondi. Apparently she's not wanting to do it, or she's not getting the message. There is likely Mormons at the FBI and the DOJ and other places to prevent me and people like me from warning Trump. Now, I obviously don't agree with everything Trump is doing, but Oaks, this criminal terrorist international crime organization, is using Trump to destroy America, as he's doing, destroying the federal government, to put sovereignty for each and every single state. But in so doing, that's what this criminal operation in Utah is hoping for, that they can get their kingdom back. Now, maybe Trump doesn't care to be president. Maybe he doesn't care to make America great again. If that's the case, why don't we just destroy America right now? Why is it being dragged out slowly? It is clear that Trump was given a deadline of the end of the month. But as a backup plan, the 14th of March is when the federal government is supposed to figure out their financial budget as it was kicked down the road. And so the federal government shutdown can be done on the 14th of March. If Trump fails to remove everybody from the federal government, to shut it down that way. This is blatantly obvious. When you look at the bigger picture, the deep state Dems are either incredibly stupid or they're pretending to be stupid to lead their viewers astray. Because they can see the big picture. They know what Trump is up to. Instead, they're focusing on their key complaints and not letting their people know of the bigger picture. When you have a dam that's holding back water and you start to see a crack, and then another, 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 the deep state Dems want to focus on complaining about the bigger cracks for them. They let the little cracks go. When dealing with a dam that's cracking, you don't do that. You've got to stop the water, tear down the whole dam, and rebuild it. The deep state Dems don't get it, or they don't want to get it, because they're in on it with Trump. But this is going to lead to consequences that will cause damage, that will cause harm to the American people. This is not the way to reform a government if the government leaders don't like the way the government is being run. They never bothered to follow the Constitution, so they have no idea what it would be like to actually follow the Constitution, what America would be like if they followed the Constitution. They've been spending all these years, decades, over 200 years, trying to change the Constitution for corporate greed, for bribery purposes, for things that do not help the American people. And so that's why MAGA has wanted somebody to step up and stop this corruption of the government. But there are consequences. In which the consequences are going to lead to a civil war. There's going to be many deaths. And maybe those that are causing this want this. They know exactly what they're doing, and they want people to die. They want the anarchy to destroy America that will lead to World War III. But I'm hoping that there's still a majority of humans who want to live in peace, who don't want to be abused by their government, who don't want the crime and corruption that leads to a survival of the fittest lifestyle, where only the physically or mentally strong that can murder off the others to remain king of the mountain. I would hope that there's a majority of people who don't want that lifestyle, who don't want a purge of America, even though that was a very popular series, I guess. And so, despite this criminal operation that is in charge of all that's happening, that is ruining your lives, that is destroying your lives, that has murdered your friends, your family, your neighbors, your fellow man, they framed and blamed Joseph. Joseph Smith was not a part of this. I've gone over with you their own confession that they framed and blamed Joseph. Joseph Smith had nothing to do with anything that they said he was a part of. Which means, yes, he was not a polygamist. He didn't rape little girls. He didn't commit adultery with other men's wives. The Danites did. It is these Danites who are the criminals of what they falsely accused Joseph of. Thomas B. Marsh was lied to that it was Joseph in charge. But he was correct that these Danites were responsible. And so they're about to win because of what Trump is doing and what the consequences will be. When Trump does tariffs, stock markets fall. We saw that very plain and preciously. And so, sure enough, at the end of the month, the tariffs against Canada and Mexico, and he's threatening other tariffs, are going to be implemented. The stock market will collapse. The economy will collapse. Food prices will skyrocket to be unpurchasable. If you think eggs are unpurchasable right now, wait till all of our food is unpurchasable. You won't have a place to live because you can't afford it. America will economically collapse. The federal government will be completely gutted and gone. We have a fire sale coming. It is well underway. It is not being done instantly. like I'm diehard for. It is being done incrementally, in stages. And so it would be awesome if Trump finds out about this criminal international terrorist organization and stops him. He's the only one who can do it as President of the United States of America. If he realizes that he's being used, that this terrorist organization will betray Trump. Remember, the devil never supports his own. Well, the devil is the baby name meaning of Russell Marion. Nevertheless, they've made it very clear that they are giving aid to terrorists. They are giving aid to illegals. That in and of itself should be cause for Pam Bondi to sue, to get ICE to lock them all up for giving aid to terrorists and illegals. Over 600,000 in Utah, all being helped by this criminal operation. So, some of the other things that have been going on yesterday is Trump's 25% tariffs on cars, drugs, and chips. I like potato chips. What the hell? I don't think it's those chips, but I don't know. I think it's more of electronic device chips, like the Intel chips, AI chips, those types of things, trying to prevent outside AI from coming into America so that American chips can prosper. But nonetheless, so pay attention to the stock market, as it's likely to produce consequences. The church, by the way, is the major stock investor in the stock market. They're the ones that are selling their stock and making a profit off of it, just so that you know. It's not Microsoft and Google that are making the money. They have stock invested in their companies too, but the church is the major stock investor. So when the stocks fall, this criminal terrorist organization profits off of it, and they profit worldwide. So when Trump did his little thing, yeah, they own stocks in other countries, on other stock markets. The church profited off of that. That was the church making money thanks to Trump. They used him. Canada's military is expanding in recruitments in preparation for a coming war. They are not naive. They are not being apathetic as deep state Dems are. They are planning, they are preparing for what may come, according to Trump's threats. They're already working to be more self-sufficient. They're looking to other countries for trade, and they're building up an army. They will not be bullied or be caught unaware when Trump does what he's going to do. Trump is now turning the script on Ukraine. He's blaming Zelensky for causing the war. This is exactly what Islam did with October 7th. they blamed Israel. And all the press, except for Fox News, blamed Israel. They even labeled it Israel's war on Gaza. It's called self-defense. It was abominable for the press to throw Israel under the bus, to just throw out all of their education, learning, licensing of journalism, to lie to the public, to report falsehoods, to show bias for a terrorist group that is also an international criminal terrorist organization, just not as well organized as the one down at Temple Square in Salt Lake City here. But nonetheless, this is what Trump is now trying to flip the script on against Ukraine. Ukraine is Israel, Putin is Islam. The news has always been correct with their reporting on Russia's war on Ukraine. Notice, those who stayed behind in Ukraine fought for Ukraine, just as Palestinians did in Gaza and Lebanon and the West Bank, and yet the news calls these supporters of terrorism as victims of a genocidal purge by the big, bad, mean Israelis. This is what Trump is flipping the script on in Ukraine. It is wrong. Let's see. And then another local news here in Utah. Tim Ballard, who had been betrayed by M. Russell Ballard. Gotta make sure I get it correct, because it's Russell M. Nelson and M. Russell Ballard. That's stupid. They all do an M thing or a letter thing for either their first or their middle names. It's stupid. But nonetheless, M. Russell Ballard supported Tim Ballard. Tim Ballard was involved in operations to rescue sex-trafficked girls in America and in other places in the world. And so, as part of his operation, he had to go undercover in these criminal spots that would be involved in the kidnapping and sex trafficking of girls. And so it's necessary that you don't appear as a cop, that you don't appear as somebody who can blow your cover. You've got to pretend to be in the world, in that world, to be able to purchase these kidnapped, sex trafficked girls, just like Jeffrey Epstein. And so women who chose to be a part of helping other girls get rescued knew that they would have to play the role of sexual deviants that are desirous to have these girls for themselves to do sting operations. Nevertheless, after M. Russell Ballard decided to withdraw his support and lied, and then got caught in the press, these women started coming out and saying that they were victims of sexual abuse by Tim Ballard. And so there's been some things brought out that they were accusing Tim Ballard of, all of which, from what I've seen, is not contrary to the job he was in. Even though he's married, if you've got to have sex with other women to show these sex traffickers that you're a legitimate person, you got to do that. Just like drug enforcement agents, if they go undercover, they've got to do drugs to show that they're not cops. And these criminals purposely do this test for cops, to check for cops, along with checking for wiretaps. But because of the checking for wiretaps, underground cops have to go without, and thus they also use the testing on them for drugging. The same thing for the sex cult industry. You've got to show that you're a couple. You've got to show that you have a sexual relationship. So for these women to now claim that they were victims of sexual abuse in a job where they needed to be sexually active and show that they're sexually active to these sex traffickers is kind of stupid. It is very clear they were defending the church. And so, sure enough, as things went on and the church got exposed, and Russell Ballard had provided Tim Ballard with tithing documents, which is criminal, so that he can go and ask for donations from the richer tithe payers of the church. Ballard died. M. Russell Ballard died in 2023. And so that was a big relief for Tim Ballard and a major blow for the prosecution, with all of the women that were rising up for the lawsuit. And so to cut it short, yesterday the news reported that charges are being dropped from the case against Tim Ballard. This is what happens when you don't have a case. Charges get dropped. They lied to purposely attack Tim Ballard because it exposed the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints as criminal. This is exactly what I told you about. Mormons are evil, defending this church at all costs. Because the prosecution should have also been suing the church for their involvement. But conveniently, M. Russell Ballard died. But those women are faithful Mormon girls, choosing a life of sluttiness to save other little girls from being sex trafficked. And now they're complaining that they were victims of sexual abuse. Not even the porn star Stormy Daniels claimed to be a victim. She knew men's sexual natures as a porn star. She knew what she was doing when she brought Trump brought her up to his apartment. That was not what she was complaining about. It was the catch and kill at the tabloid. Nevertheless, all shut down. And so, from the fact sheet of Trump's website, we have Trump reigning in government overreach and begins deconstruction of unconstitutional administrative state. That means he's destroying the federal government. He's becoming king. But Trump cannot be king of a nation that is destroyed, where states do their own thing, especially Utah, refusing to follow Trump's laws, let alone refusing to follow the laws of the Constitution and the federal government before Trump. The church will never bow the knee to Trump. This is their betrayal of Trump. They're setting him up to destroy the federal government and become king, knowing he will not become king. That Trump will be betrayed and come to ruin, and the criminal organization reigns on their kingdom once again. And so he reduces the federal bureaucracy and ends taxpayer subsidization of open borders. And why is there's two of them? Where did you go? Should not have been doing that. Trump has 2 pages on his side. The second one is presidential actions. And so he's commenced the reduction of the federal bureaucracy. He's ensured lawful governance and implementing the President's Department of Government Efficiency, DOGE, because the judge gave him free rein to do it. And so, yes, Social Security is likely to be stopped for the first time ever in American history. All of the money that they're letting you believe is being saved is all being laundered into the Dodge account. The U.S. debt calendar, or clock rather, is over $100 billion for Dodge. It is not his savings, it's a debt clock. It's Musk's paycheck. And so, with doing away with NASA, yeah, Musk has full reign over his space program that Trump said we're going to Mars. And Musk cheered because he knew it's him. This is what they've been up to, whether Trump knows it or not. And so, yeah, Musk is making out like a bandit off of all of this. And the deep state Dems whine and complain rather than do their job and fight for Americans. It was the 80th anniversary of the Battle of Iwo Jima yesterday. Isn't that the one with the statue? Let's see if I can find this. Statue of Iwo Jima. Yep. U.S. Marine Corps War Memorial. The Battle of Iwo Jima. And the story behind it, kind of a sad one, but a patriotic, heroic one. And then Trump announces appointments to the Council of Governors. Not sure I like the sound of that. Cox is betraying you, Trump. Do not put Cox in it. And then Trump announces appointments to the White House Office of Intergovernmental Affairs. So there you go. Mosiah 29, if you want more answers on what these are involving.